All right. Welcome to the Finfluential. This is Marcus Monero here, and today I have Luke Hohmann.
Luke Hohmann. Hi, everyone. How are you?
Luke Hohmann. Oh, hey, doing well. It is great to talk to someone from Sunnyvale, California.
Yeah, on the not quite on the other side of the world, but a bit on the other side of the world, and it's really lovely to be talking with you.
Yeah. I'm glad we got to connect, and I got a chance to look a little bit about FirstRoot, and I know it's all about financial education, but you have quite a unique approach to teaching young students, I guess even adults too, how to spend money in terms of budgeting and basically I guess a lot of aspects of financial education. So I would love for you to just before we go into FirstRoot, I'd love to learn a little bit about yourself and how did you get into financial education?
Yeah, that's a great question because everyone's path to greater financial literacy is unique, and how we both want to educate and how we want to promote good financial habits is unique. My background starts over a decade ago when I was looking at how large companies manage their investment portfolios. And it turns out that how large companies manage their investment portfolios is many times an awful process. You have a lot of high-powered leaders, type A people who have these financial decisions that they need to make. And those financial decisions are often kind of structured as a zero-sum game. I win if my initiative is funded and you lose. And so you get these people who are supposed to collaborate during their normal work, but then when they try to make these financial decisions, the annual budgeting process, it's really kind of argumentative and it's not very enjoyable for anyone. So I created a set of techniques that were taking the competitive process and making it a collaborative process. And it's partially informed by game and game theory. So how do you have certain kinds of games out there? There's competitive games and there's cooperative games. Or collaborative games. And so by looking at this process, we were able to make quite substantial improvements in the process of defining the budgets. I created a software company. So it was an enterprise software as a service or SaaS company. And our clients were people like BMW and Daimler and Cisco and eBay managing billions of dollars of investment portfolios. Along the way, I started doing this with citizens in cities to engage them in the budgeting process of the city. How do we determine the priorities of a city? And how do we make sure that the city is spending the money in a way that is aligned with the wishes of the residents? That worked so well. Out of the blue, I thought it would be fun to start trying this in schools. And what would happen? It's a simple question. What would happen if we gave kids real money to manage and then use that as the lens by which to teach the basics of financial literacy? And it is absolutely amazing what happens. When you give kids money and you structure that conversation so that they think about how money is spent. And it's not, Marcus, it's not we walk up to a school and say, here's money and walk away. Participatory budgeting is a structured process. And what I mean by a structured process is that the students go through 5 phases. Phase 1 is they create a theme on how the money should be managed. Is it about school safety? Is it about athletic equipment? You're an athlete. You're a former athlete. So you know that the school might need new track equipment or new, refurbishing the track. And who knows that better than the students? The teachers don't run on the track. The students do. So the second phase is ideation. The students create ideas The third phase is they refine those ideas and they really start. So let's say that you and your friends say, hey, we need more gym equipment or we need more athletic equipment. Okay, well, what do you actually need? Do you need a new track? How much does that cost? Can we afford it? And that refinement process is really where you start to get into the details of really deep financial literacy, because you have to build a proposal that other students, and this is the cool part, in the fourth phase, after refinement, the students vote. And the entire student body gets a chance to vote on what they think are the best and most important proposals. Then, and my favorite stage is the implementation phase. We look at the results, and what the students pick are implemented in the school or in the school community. And that's really cool, because what that does is it creates a closed loop process where someone sees the advantage of getting involved in their school. They see the advantage of good financial habits. They see why it's important to create a budget. We can talk to the kids about really important financial concepts like total cost of ownership or capital expenses versus operating expenses, all sorts of really critical financial concepts that will carry them forward into their adult and work life. And I've got to add one more thing. It's so much better than the simulations that you see. Like you walk up to a kid and you say, here's $100,000, go invest it in the stock market through this simulation, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, first, especially for low and moderate income or minority kids, they don't have $100,000. It makes no sense to them. Rich kids can understand that, but normal kids, I remember when my son went to his high school and he said, Dad, they've given me $100,000 to invest. I've got 3 months and I'm going to see how much money I can make. And of course I said, first, that's a sum of money that we don't have, right? Because it's this huge sum of money. And second, teaching a kid setting a goal of how much money can you make in 3 months through the stock market is through your own experiences, that's not value-based investing. That's GameStop.
Yeah.
And a couple of people are going to win in GameStop and most everyone is going to lose.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth. Yeah.
So that's what we do. We have a great time doing it, and it's always exciting what the kids decide to do with the money. It's really remarkable what the kids do with the money. It's really exciting. And for example, in one school, fifth graders, so younger kids, they decided to buy a tree.
Wow.
Or they said not buy a tree, but they decided to get a tree for their school. They got soccer nets. They got fidget toys. Another high school that we work with, they bought new books for their library. We've seen students get 3D printers and chemistry lab equipment.
Wow, that is sweet.
It's really cool stuff. And every time we do this, the adults say, I never imagined that our kids would want more books. I never imagined that our kids needed more equipment for the athletic program. I never imagined that our kids would get a tree to make their school more beautiful. Well, you didn't ask.
Wow, that is... Yeah. No, that is true. Yeah. Oh, wow. I could reflect, my high school days, well, I mean, either, have the ability to have like new equipment, or maybe, get hands-on a 3D printer. I mean, just to have that live experience of creating something, I think it's just fascinating, and it does. Personally, I believe it does raise your human capital in terms of skill sets and experience. And I think to me, what was fascinating is you said use example of the fifth graders, like they learn how to use the PB formula, I guess.
Yes, PB.
So
Yes.
actually, yeah. So like, I was just curious to ask you, what's the age application? I guess the youngest or
we've gone as low as fourth grade. I think it's probably around third grade in the U.S. So that would be about 8 or 9 years old, because not every country has the same grading systems and structures. But I'm guessing it's about 8 or 9 is about the lowest that I think would be appropriate. And that's because kids do need to be old enough to deal with some of the concepts involved. But to be fair though, a kid, even a young kid, can understand the notion of a total cost of ownership. And what I mean by that is, let's say that as a kid, you go to your mom and dad and you said, "Hey, mom and dad, let's go to the amusement park." And there's amusement parks in every city. Well, and the kid says, "Can we afford it?" Well, what mom and dad are thinking is total cost of ownership, because they're thinking it's going to be the price of the ticket to get in, and then we need to buy some food, and maybe we'll need to have a little bit of money for a toy or a prize or whatever. So the kids are thinking one thing, but their mom and dad are thinking something a little different. And that's something that we want to be cognizant of or thoughtful about in terms of how do we make those choices when we're dealing with our family and talking about certain things. That's pretty important. So that's something we think about quite a bit.
All right. Okay. And so as far as the PB, the participatory budgeting, I guess you work with high schools, and just right now you're just focusing on high schools, right? In California, or are you also like expanding to other places?
We're expanding everywhere. We don't limit the schools that we work with, so it's not just high schools. It's elementary schools, middle schools, high schools.
Okay.
I think every modern company has to be global right from the start. So we are global right from the start, meaning our software has been localized into multiple languages. We support different cultures. Every culture has their own kind of point of view about how they manage money, how they interact with money. So we want to support them in that process. I think that the need for financial literacy is a global need, right? Every country has its own financial system, but we are all kind of becoming a global financial market, and we need to be able to manage money in a kind of a consistent way around the world. And we need to know we need basic concepts. Like if you think about money includes pretty basic concepts of what is interest, what is a stock, how do I own real estate in a given part of the world. All of these are universal concepts that we need to be able to support in teaching.
Okay, sure, yeah. Now, because I was just, when you talked about the need for financial education, knowledge, I mean, I guess, around the world, because definitely like, it's not just the United States that requires financial education, because, I remember when I moved to the States, I was a little surprised, like, there was not much financial education courses or programs or any initiative, I guess, in the high school level kind of deal. I guess you learn it from college, just taking courses and stuff, but not the
even in college there's not courses, right? So it is kind of sad, right? I mean, if you think about how important financial literacy is, it's essential. Financial literacy is absolutely essential, and it's not taught, and it needs to be taught. And so we're among the companies that are out there that are promoting that financial literacy be added to the curriculum of companies. Curriculum of schools. Because you're right, it's not necessarily a very good idea to learn it on your own. And it's not always clear that your family is going to teach you the best approaches to financial literacy.
Yeah, true. Yeah. No, I can attest to that. I had some, I mean, just to give an example, I had some friends, I mean, who, back in Texas, they're from the Hispanic family. And, they were like, I would say, my friend, I think he's like what do you call, like a first generation American.
Right.
From Mexico, or Mexican American. So, but it was interesting. We did talk about like, certain financial principles, and it's a whole world of difference, what I see, compared, what my family has taught me, with my best friend in Dubai, then you got my other friends in the US. I mean, there was a lot of disparities, so, but it is sort of catching up as, with the internet and new programs are coming in. So it is good to see that, that I'm sure. But I know but I just personally feel we're still a long way to go. So
yes.
Is that the sentiment that you have, or, I mean, are you pessimistic, optimistic, or?
I feel I feel that I'm optimistic. And the reason I'm optimistic is we now have data that's pretty reliable about the negative effects of wealth inequality. And we know that one of the reasons we have wealth inequality is because we have educational inequality. So to be candid, wealthy people know how to manage money, and they impart that wisdom to their children, and right. They impart those practices, because financial literacy starts before you go to school, right? The moment you're born into a family unit of some kind, and there's lots of family structures.
Yeah.
But that family, that family that you're born into has more or less financially good practices and habits. So, for example, in my own family, my kids laugh about it, but my wife clips coupons for.
All right. Oh, really? Okay.
Right.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
And there was a time where we needed to clip coupons, but then my income became larger as I progressed in my career. And I remember one time one of my kids said to my wife, "Why are you still clipping coupons? Dan's making enough money now that you don't need to." And she said, "Well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you clip coupons? Because all you have to do is go to the paper, look at what you're going to buy, align the coupon with what you're going to get, and you save money." My child said, "Well, that's not meaningful." And my wife's like, "Actually, it is. Let me show you." And I have a big family. I have 4 kids. So we have,
all right, okay.
We have a lot of food. Yeah. And my wife said, "I'm saving more than $600 a year clipping coupons." Does $600 sound like a lot of money? And my child said, "Actually, that does sound like a pretty significant money." That's going back to the amusement park. That's a day at the amusement park, right? I mean, with everything you want, the tickets and the food and the whole thing for a family of 6,
right?
Right. That's a super fun day. Or that's with the cost of movies and popcorn and things like that. It's going to cost me to take my entire family out to the movies. That's probably $100. So we just bought, 4 or 5 movies through clipping coupons. So the point is that my children had the benefit, and I'm very thankful that they've had that benefit of watching my wife manage money and being thoughtful about spending. And that's carried over into their own habits. My kids are older, and you can see them now being thoughtful about how they spend money, including some of them clipping coupons.
Oh wow! Okay, that's amazing. Actually, yeah. Now I do remember shows called like Extreme Couponing, and I think like they have these TV shows about people using coupons to save money and stuff. But it is fascinating.
It is.
It does.
It's absolutely fascinating, if you will. But I think that the higher level point that I'm trying to make is, even before you get to school, you're learning certain aspects of financial literacy, And that's one of the ways that wealth is transmitted through generations, is because a generation that has money in general tends to practice the habits that promote money. And that's where you want to use education, and you want to help, in a sense, create the most positive environment for managing financial literacy. And the way that we're doing that at FirstRoot is, as you know, Marcus, we're offering a platform for this concept of participatory budgeting in schools. We also have a version of our software called the FirstRoot Family Edition. And the Family Edition is designed to take these same techniques into families. Going back to that vacation, imagine as a child, you could be involved in planning your family vacation with your family, with your mom and dad. And that notion of,
oh, wow, that's amazing.
Right. So imagine mom and dad, and the way we think about it is mom and dad are the CEOs of the house. They're going to set the budget for how much money they have on vacation. But now I can get the kids involved. And the way we talk about it with our kids is look, we could go to an exotic location for our vacation, like Hawaii. But if we were to go to Hawaii, we have to buy 6 plane tickets. And we need, but if we were to go somewhere in California, we could drive. We're still going to spend some money on travel, but now the travel budget is less. So the amount of the budget that I can allocate to activities is more. And by involving the kids in those trade-offs and those discussions, we can create real financial literacy in the choices that they are going to make when they are parents and when they are in their adult lives. And that's exciting.
Yeah. No, I know that's pretty cool, because I just got a glimpse on the FirstRoot. You have different solutions, curriculum, and you got the families. So I just see, I mean, the first word that comes to my mind is just financial empowerment, not only just for the parents, but also for the kids as well. And I think, to me, I think one of the best ways you can learn is not just like reading books and stuff, but actually experiencing it, like firsthand, like when you're just speaking the word, you're listening, and, you get that feel. And I think it hits kind of like almost all the senses, so it stays within you for a long time. I think that is fascinating. But I was just, but I'm just curious, like, could you give us like an example of, say, if it's all right,
sure,
like a family experience,
Sure. So let's say a family wanted to go through. I'll pick a simple one. This is kind of going to be a question for me to you culturally, because we have, you're on the other side. You're on the other side of the world.
All right. Yeah.
And you've lived in America, right? So but I have not lived in Dubai. So I have a question for you. You know that Americans have many times we make a lot of charitable donations, and you saw that in America.
True.
Do the same kind of charitable donations exist in other parts of the world, like in Dubai? Are people making the same kind of charitable choices?
I guess the Christians over here, within the churches, whether Baptists or Catholics or charismatic churches, they do have tithing and donations. The Muslims, they have this thing called zakat, which is their form of giving charity to the poor. And definitely there is the in this part of the world, yes, there is the aspect of giving charity, or also, providing food or water to construction workers over here in Dubai, because it is a hot country, and construction is big. So
okay, perfect. That's good enough. When I was growing up, my family also practiced charity, and I remember that one of the things that kind of frustrated me was that my mom made the decisions about the charity. And I knew that we wanted to be charitable, but I also wanted to have a voice in that. So what my wife and I do is, and again, this is this notion of participatory budgeting. My wife and I set the budget of what our charitable donations are going to be. and we try to involve the kids in the decision-making process, meaning when we are going to make those charitable donations, who we donate to and how much we donate overall is set by my wife and I, but who we donate to is determined with the involvement of my kids, because they have their own opinions about what charities matter to them and why those charities are important. And so that's something that I think is an example of participatory budgeting in a family unit that promotes discussions, because now when my kids are making their, in a sense, their charitable donations, I get a chance to ask them questions of, hey, why did you pick that charity? And if you donated to that charity last year, how do you know that that charity was responsibly spending your money? Did you, for example, look at their report? Because every charity has to have a report at the end of the year in the United States about what they spent their money on, and did their program goals, did the things that charity wanted to invest in, were those program goals realized? Because it's a financial choice, and maybe there's a different charity that is more important or more deserving. And of course, all the charities that our kids create or come up with as choices are important charities, and they're wonderful charities, and they're all deserving. But what I'm really trying to make is, as my point is, this concept of participation and conversation, and like you said, the learning by doing, the activities that are associated with really getting engaged, those are universal, and those matter no matter kind of who you are. You want to be involved no matter who you are in your life.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, no, that was pretty. That's the point where you talked about kids having a say in where the money is going. That is a strange way. It's kind of new to me. Sometimes I'm thinking, wait, it is supposed to be an obvious thing to do, but but yeah, I think what I like about is at a young age, you learn to make decisions. You learn to make tough decisions. You learn to do pros and cons, and you be able to evaluate, have an eye for value, and all these innate inside things. Sorry, I can't think of the right words, but I think that is quite unique approach to budgeting and financial education. So,
and it's even also letting the kids know that not everyone is perfect. I sometimes joke that I have some tools in my garage that are really used up and well worn, and I've got some tools in my garage that are gathering dust, meaning I thought I needed this thing and I thought it was cool, and so I bought this tool, and then I don't really use it. It's not really what I needed or wanted. And so even in a sense, making mistakes is part of our financial lives. Not every choice we make is perfect because we're humans. And I think what's important to know about that is that as a parent, when and how do you want your kids to make mistakes? I would want my kids to make a mistake in the context of a school participatory budgeting, because they tend to be a smaller amount of money, and there's a teacher there. And so I'd like to have a teacher help the students explore that concept. Meaning we bought the soccer nets for our school. Maybe they fall apart after a year. Is that because they were low quality? We looked at, you talked about the critical thinking. So the kid says in their participatory budgeting program, hey, we want new soccer nets. And okay, but now the kids have to figure out what soccer nets to get. So they go online and they see, oh, there's these really super durable, super important soccer nets that cost much more than these cheaper nets. And they think, oh, okay, let's get the cheaper nets. and then they buy them and they install them and they learn that they may not have made the best choice.
Interesting. All right. Okay.
Are you with me?
Interesting.
That's part of financial
Yeah.
literacy is realizing that, sometimes what you want to do is buy the more expensive, higher quality thing because it really will last longer and it really, in a sense, is more durable. And then, of course, sometimes the cheaper thing is just fine.
Okay. Yeah. Right. True. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of eye-opening for me. I mean, just because it's not just the like you learn how to budget and stuff, but I'm glad to hear that because it's good for, at the young age to learn how to use critical thinking, and especially in this day and age. I think in the global marketplace, things are getting competitive, so you wanna you wanna I guess build your experience, but also make good judgment calls too, and also have the strength to overcome mistakes as well, right? So that's part of the
because we're all going to make mistakes, and even with our personal finances, right? We were talking about stocks. You're not always going to have a perfect choice in the stock market, even.
Sure.
And so, how do we know the best choices that we can make? But we also want to be able to understand like what was a good choice, what wasn't a good choice, etc. And I'm gonna come back to the same thing, Marcus. We think the best way to learn how to manage money is by actually managing money.
Yeah, that's that's interesting. When you came up with that idea, the best way to manage money is for people to actually manage money. I was curious, like when you came up with that idea and you shared it with other people, I was just curious to know, like, what was their reaction to it?
Most people think it's pretty novel, if you will. Wow, what an interesting idea. That the best way to manage money is to give kids money to manage. They think it's pretty cool. A lot of people think it's pretty interesting, if you will. So that's kind of exciting. And we like that idea. So
yeah,
I guess that's what I would say is we just kind of we let people. They think it's cool. I'm just going to say most people don't go, oh, this is an awful idea. They go, wait a minute, that's a really cool idea. So it's a pretty fun way to do it. I mean, look at how you reacted, right? And I'm sure the listeners too, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it's not just you; it's the listeners, right? Every listener out here who's listening to us, I challenge you: think about your own experience. Wouldn't it have been cool in school to have actual money to have your ideas implemented? And maybe it's not the school. Maybe it's like a school club. Like maybe you're into cooking, or maybe you're into the band, or maybe you're into dance, or maybe you're into athletics like you and I were. Wouldn't it be cool to have a voice in how money is spent in your school club? To me, those are all really cool things.
Yeah, honestly, what I'm just feeling right now, I'm a little bit jealous that I didn't have that experience in high school to be able to take ownership of, say, a budgetary proposal, like for something, like say get a 3D printer, or set up a new track or something like that, and just be involved in it, and and just get some real life experience, so that's I'm a little jealous about it, but hey, but at the same time, but I'll give credit that, hey, you know what? I'm glad that a lot of these kids are, they are getting this new experience. But speaking about, high school, could you give us some real life examples of, so I believe you have worked with some certain schools in California?
Sure. So let's talk about how much money we're talking about, and then what kids can do with that money. The average amount of money is $2,000 to $10,000 US, and sometimes that goes as high as $50,000, which is pretty cool. And that money comes from the principals, it comes from parents, it comes from corporate sponsors. Parents have,
gotcha.
Think of it as a pot of money, and people just kind of dump money into the pot. And then this,
it's like a liquid pool.
Yeah, and then the students get to decide how to spend it. So now the question becomes, what are examples of what kids have done, not just in California, but in other high schools? So in California, they've done things like, in one school we work with, Fremont High School, the school had recently added a new building, but there was nowhere for the kids to put flyers of activities. So they bought a cabinet to post flyers for upcoming events. They also wanted more seating for the outside lunch area. So they bought a table, like one of those metal tables that have the chairs and the thing. And it was...
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, sure,
right.
Sure.
So one high school in Indianapolis, they bought new books. I talked about the kids in Wisconsin getting a tree and soccer nets. In New York City, they ended up purchasing a 3D printer and some chemistry supplies. In Chicago, the students painted a mural of the school logo on the outside of the school to freshen the environment and make it more inviting. So there's just lots of things that are that the students do.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. So it's not, actually it's pleasant to hear. It's not just California. I mean, it's on the East Coast, just north of the U.S., like, Wisconsin and Chicago.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, all over. There's places all over the country that are doing this. So it's pretty exciting.
Okay. Yeah. So but I was just curious to know, I'm assuming, do the schools find you, or do you go to them and present yours? The FirstRoot.
So I mean, we're a startup, right? So we're going to be looking at how marketing and sales, right? This is part of my outreach, right? I'm talking with you. How do people find me?
Yeah.
Well, I've got you. And I've got our conversation as part of what we're doing as a company, as a team. And this is part of our marketing and sales and outreach, talking to podcasters, talking to people who are promoting financial literacy, who are promoting the benefits of good finance. So this is one way. So someone on this podcast is going to be a parent, and they're going to say, wait a minute, this is a good idea. I'm going to check out FirstRoot. And you can get us at www.firstroot.co. We also have educational programs. We run webinars. We write articles. So we do the normal kind of outreach of a growing market. Now, there's two other things I'm going to add. The New York City Department of Education, which is the United States' largest school district, has integrated participatory budgeting into their curriculum. So thousands and hundreds of thousands of kids in New York City are being exposed to participatory budgeting as part of their curriculum. The same thing with Chicago. Chicago has a new curriculum promoting civic engagement, and that curriculum has lessons and modules about participatory budgeting. So as schools start to integrate this into their curriculum, we see these great opportunities for us to grow, expand, and really create some unique mechanisms for scale. So we think that this is going to go around the world, and we think that the company is poised for massive scale. I mean, every city has a school. Every country has thousands of schools. So we want to see all of these schools doing participatory budgeting.
Interesting. Okay. Actually, my next question was talking about, hey, how to make, PB international. And I'm like, okay, it is scalable and and definitely it is valuable too. So I was just curious, other than the States, do you have, are there any plans in the making with regards to
absolutely,
like outside the US?
So our platform has been internationalized, which means it can support multiple languages, and we're adding support for multiple languages. We actually support Bahrainian dinars, right? I mean, we support different forms of currency.
Oh,
right. Oh,
wow. Okay.
Right? So
okay, that's I don't know. Wait,
right.
Bahrain. Wow.
So as countries start to use our platform, we can translate the user interface into the language choices of the participants. So we support Spanish and French and other. We support Punjabi. We support right. All sorts of languages around the world, because again, going back to our earlier part of our conversation, financial literacy and making good choices about money is a universal global thing. And that's something that we want people to be associated with in every country. We want to make this available to everyone, not just to rich people. This is universal. We want everyone to be able to do this.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So other than, you work with schools and, even families and I guess, school districts, I was just curious to know if, have you ever, reached out to, people in City Hall? Like the city council,
part of my experience is I started doing this in corporations, and then I started doing it in cities. So cities like San Jose, California, or Lublin, Poland, or I gave a talk in Edinburgh, Scotland. I've been in Sydney talking about participatory budgeting in different parts of the world. So I've been around the world. I've done participatory budgeting in everywhere from Tel Aviv to Bogota, Colombia. So cities get involved. It's this.
Wow. Okay.
This is a technique, Marcus, that's promoted and endorsed by the United Nations. So you can find participatory budgeting done in Africa, done in Mexico, done in Latin America, done in more developed countries like London, or cities in London, in the UK, in Scotland. So we think that there's this massive growing global trend, and we're going to be a pretty substantial tech company, but unlike social media company, which makes money by advertising and kind of not very good business practices. As we learn, as we learn more about the business practices of these companies, we become a little bit more frightened about what they're doing with our data. We want to be a force for good. We want to be a different kind of company and show that tech at scale can, especially tech that's given to kids, can be something that's really healthy and good for them.
That is really great to hear, and thank you also for bringing up the data privacy issue, because that's something not many people are aware that data privacy is really important. And I mean, if you research, I know some folks I know have researched into Cambridge Analytica, how they abuse that kind of data information. So I think slowly people are aware, but it's just a matter of time. It's similar to financial education too, So that's also another issue that needs to be addressed. So now I'm just glad to hear that you're doing it in also other countries as well. And no, because the reason I ask is to with my alma mater, it's Wayland Baptist University, it's in Texas. So definitely, I was just curious to ask you: have you worked in the state of Texas with PB program?
Yeah, I have not. So Texas is kind of an advanced state for the United States in the sense that Texas has a financial literacy education requirement for people who live in Texas and went to schools in Texas. So we're talking with a few schools in Texas. We haven't done any programs yet in Texas. We will.
Okay.
It's just a matter of time.
Right. Okay.
So I think that then the question becomes, what kind of training is appropriate as a person progresses to adulthood? Right? You're not going to talk about getting a car loan to an 8th grader, and you're not going to talk about buying candy in a store to a senior in high school or who's about to graduate and go to college, right? The 8th grader. So what we're building out is curriculum for each grade level that's ideally designed for their needs where they are in their life. So 8th graders need to have some very, younger kids need to have some very basic concepts structured. Things like I need a savings account. I need to know what savings is. I need a checking account. I need to know what a check is. I need to know how to write a check. I mean, it sounds silly because you're an adult and I'm an adult, but I promise you, someone taught you how to write a check. And I've had to teach my kids, okay, this is how you write a check. And secretly, I used to tell them if they don't write it neatly and they get it wrong, the bank gets the money. So you have to learn how to write very neatly. And they write very neatly now because they don't want the bank to, and of course that's not true, but it was fun as a dad. Yeah. But, once you've got the basics down, then you need to learn, okay, what's a credit card? How can they be used properly? How can they be used improperly? How do you protect yourself? What is my credit score? That moves into, I'm a young adult and I go to college. How do I manage a college loan? Or I'm a young adult and I've been 2 years in college in the dorm and now I'm going to move into an apartment and they want a security deposit. What's a security deposit? Why does that exist? What does it cover? These are all things that you and I have learned sometimes through life. Why not actually structure it so that we're teaching people proactively about this?
No, those are good points. Because I know the struggle when I moved from Dubai to America, and already there's a cultural difference, and you have to learn to adapt. But also some of the financial stuff was quite interesting for me because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's experienced who lacked that experience, entering into the adult world or the work, or the working life, So it's these things to learn about security deposit or how to write a check. I mean, that was quite a doozy for me. I'm like, wait a minute, what? So it's not something for me I experienced only later on. I did, but I think it does help. Younger folks to be familiar with these simple steps. Sometimes they can be kind of confusing, but it's just that we need that experience and just be familiar, So I guess that way, because I never learned it in a fun, structured way. It's kind of like sort of a little bit of trial and error and just watching other people make the mistakes and be like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So that's kind of like, been my strategy. Right,
exactly. And that's not a bad strategy, but it can be a strategy that isn't available to everyone because it requires a form of self-enlightenment. Meaning if if you step outside yourself, you're acting as if you're over here on, it's like you're another person looking at yourself. That ability to disassociate yourself and say, okay, how am I behaving is a metacognitive capability. It's an ability to be self-reflective. It's a very hard ability to be self-reflective. It's a very hard ability to be metacognitive. And so if you can do it, fantastic, but not everyone can. And so the goal of educational curriculum is to create that same opportunity for everyone. For people who are metacognitive or capable of doing, like, I'm going to observe what other people do and then kind of observe myself and see how I'm doing. That's amazing. For other people, they need to be like, let me sit you down and explain why trying to make as much money as you can in GameStop by timing the market is a bad idea. Because imagine, Marcus, you were looking at how other people behave. You would see people making money off of GameStop and you might think, oh, that's the way to behave. So it's not always, you have to be very cautious about, long-term. And when we think about financial health and financial literacy, we are almost always talking about longer-term decisions and decision-making.
Good point.
I have my monthly budget, but I probably have a house, or I want to get a house, or a car, or I want to go retire. I mean, there's these longer-term choices that are being made, and that's where we want to have some, in a sense, really grounded and factually accurate recommendations and advice.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. This is this is really fascinating. Just to learn, I mean, what's your program, and I mean, how you can also actually like scale it, not just within California. I mean, already you've done in the U.S. and also other countries too. So, but I mean, you made some good points about the learning. What do you say? I guess a learning protocol. I know a lot of young folks have made quite some terrible mistakes. Because others have made a lot of money doesn't mean that they can replicate it. But they only see in a short term frame. So, and I'm sure, I guess in your program, obviously you have the methodologies and and I guess also, but I guess also not only just say the software program, but also the research.
Oh yeah. We have a what we would call a whole solution. So there's a software platform that is localized, can run on any device, Chromebook or Mac or PC or Android or iOS, whatever, and a curriculum. And the curriculum has a set of lessons that you can go to at firstroot.co/curriculum, and you can see each lesson laid out, and it kind of guides. And it's the first curriculum is targeted towards high school students. We'll be adding more over time, but the first release curriculum is for kids about 14 years old to 18-year-old kids who are making that transition to becoming a young adult and transitioning from school into adult life or college, because not everyone goes to college, right? Some people might go to the military, they might go to, right? They might get a job. So it's targeted towards that age and those people. And that curriculum is part of our program. It's available on our website. And so we have a complete solution that people might need for this, for learning financial literacy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now I was just going to your website. Yeah. Just looking at your, just the solutions, also the platform. Also, you got resources as well. But it's fascinating that you do have, because earlier I was under the impression that it's all you, but you have a team of people.
Of course. So, we're a company, so we have developers. Right, the team is global, so we have developers and product managers in Bangalore, in a couple of different places in Mexico, in a couple of different cities in the United States. So it's a global team. It's growing because I think every organization, it should be designed to be a global company. I mean, sure, maybe if you're a restaurant in a city, that's different. But I think every software company should be intrinsically constructed to be a global company, which is why we're capable of supporting anyone around the world right now today. So if someone in South Africa wants to use our platform, great. If someone in Berlin wants to use our platform, great. If someone in Moscow or Shanghai or Sydney or Auckland or Nagaland, I mean, pick Morocco, Egypt. You pick the place, we can support them. And I think that's something that people should be constructed to do right from day one.
Interesting. That's great to hear. Yeah. So like, say, I'll just throw some examples. Say there's a mayor in some American city, or say like a school district in somewhere in Dubai. They want to reach out to you and learn more about FirstRoot.
The best way to do it is luke.hohmann@firstroot.co, or go to our website, www.firstroot.co. Our website has a tremendous amount of fantastic training content and videos and support. We now have people just going to our website and signing up for an account and using our platform. So it's a completely self-serve model, but we also provide a lot of support to parents and educators who want to get support. But you don't have to talk to us if you don't want to. I sometimes say, I want to go and talk with a bank teller when I want to go and talk to a bank teller. If all I want is a little bit of cash for my weekend, I'd rather go to an ATM. If I want to talk about a loan or a mortgage or whatever, I want to talk to a person. So we have the same construction in our solution. If you want to just go use our platform, go to firstroot.co, click sign up, and use it. If you want, if you want more help, or if there's a different question you have, contact us. We're friendly people. We will help you out.
Okay, no, that's great. Absolutely. Okay, no, that's good. No, that's great to hear. I like that two option approach. Because some like to just apply and just see behind the scenes, but I know other folks definitely they have way more questions to be answered before they go 100% dive in.
Right.
So yeah, that is pretty awesome. And you also you got some amazing testimonials about from schools and students. So but I'm sure that there's more.
There's a lot more to come. It's going to be fantastic.
So no, this is definitely awesome, and I'm pleasantly surprised and glad to learn that there is a unique approach to financial education. So, and just want to first of all congratulate you for taking that step, and bringing this, bringing it into reality, and already it's global, and you don't have to be a Fortune 100 company to do it.
No, you don't. Not anymore. You can start a software company and be global very quickly. To me, this is would you I would sort of classify this as a social entrepreneurship in a sense. Yeah, there's absolutely a aspect of social impact to what we do, and we are in fact a benefit corporation where the benefit that we're trying to create is enhanced financial literacy, and that speaks to the kind of choices we make. If you look at a company like Facebook, they're making choices to do one thing: maximize profit. And those choices are often pretty dangerous to the health and well-being of societies. We're not going to make those choices because we're legally not constructed to make those choices. We are legally constructed to. We need to make a profit, but how we make a profit matters. And so we're investing money, and for people who are interested in, we're raising money. So for investors who are seeking to create a positive financial return and a positive social impact or a positive social return, we represent a great impact or a great investment. And I think that that's something that people are missing. When you make investment choices, you want to know the company you're investing in. Is it aligned with your personal values? Is it aligned with a problem that you want to see solved? Maybe you invest in a certain food company because you think they promote healthy eating and you believe that healthy eating is important for people. Maybe you invest in a vacation stock like a cruise line or an airline because you think that vacations are important for mental health. I don't really care. What I do care, and what we actually teach in our financial literacy courses, you should know what you value. What you personally value should be part of how you make the investments in your portfolio. You don't want to judge other people for what they value. They may value different things, but you do want to be investing in ways that are aligned with what you think is important. And we think that financial literacy is important. We think that getting kids involved in their community and their school is important. And that's why we're building our software platform and curriculum. And investors who think that financial literacy is important, investors who think that kids should have a voice so that they become adults who have a voice, they should invest in our company because that's what we're building.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Yeah. Actually, my last, question would be, I'm sure there are investors or I would say so like, financial action groups, they would like to, if they want to reach out to you in terms of investing, is there a particular channel they need to follow?
Yeah, well, right now,
connect you directly?
Through October 20th, anyone in the world can invest in our company. We are doing what's called an equity crowdfunding. So between now and October 20th, anyone in the world can invest in our company. I mean, you could invest, the minimum investment is $99. So it's open to the world. And we've got investors pouring in from around the world. It's very exciting. After that, we're going to move into what's considered professional investors. Those are also known as venture capitalists, right?
Capitalists. So, VCs. All right. Okay.
Now, what's interesting about VCs is you're seeing a new class of VCs emerge who are social impact VCs. They're investing in things like climate change mitigation. They're investing in racial and wealth equity. So you're seeing a new class of investors come on board, and we're talking with those kinds of investors too, and that's who we'll be talking to next. But for a few more weeks, we have an opportunity to make our company available to anyone who cares about these things. Anyone who cares about these things.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. No, definitely. We'll share the links in the podcast as well as in my YouTube channel as well. And but definitely would love for people to know about the work that you're doing. Not only just for schools and families, but also there are, like you said, there's a whole new class of, I guess, venture capitalists or solo capitalists who are, crusading for things that really matter.
Yeah.
So this definitely will do that for sure. And but is there anything else you would like to share or share some words of wisdom before we end this this fireside chat?
Marcus, thank you so much. I think we've covered a tremendous amount of ground. There's a lot in here. People can listen and even re-listen. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to share what we're doing with your audience. As your audience continues to grow, right, there will be people who will come back to this. And that's the last thing is, how do you know that this is going to be a great company? Well, the problem is global, and solving the problem creates benefits for everyone. And that's the last thing I want to really share with the listeners is most people think that wealth is a zero-sum game, meaning if I have money, you won't. That's not true. If you actually look at how wealth is created, wealth is an expanding resource. If we create the foundations, we can move people out of poverty. We've proven that over the last several hundred years. We've moved a greater percentage of the world's population is now living out of poverty. Now, do we still have people in the world who are living in poverty? Yes. Do we need to attack this? Absolutely. But the evidence is that if we continue to work towards greater equity, the world itself becomes a better place. And that's what we're after.
Sure. That is awesome. I'm glad you shared that. Yeah, and that is important. And I have seen the numbers. We have got a lot of people out of poverty, but still, then we are going to continue the fight, and whether we do it, big, through big programs. But I personally do believe that financial education and uplifting people is true. One listener, one viewer, one subscriber at a time.
One at a time, and we'll get it done.
Yeah, one time. Absolutely, I agree. Anyways, Luke, thank you for taking the time, sharing what FirstRoot is all about, and once again, congratulations. I know the best is yet to come, and I am looking forward to sharing the good news.
Thank you so much.
So definitely, personally from my side, they definitely share with some people in the States who I know, and also over here as well. And let's get this financial literacy, financial education, and financial empowerment going. So we need more people like you doing this stuff. And definitely I see a lot of passion in what you in this. So it's really great to see that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Anyways, everybody, we gotta go. Luke is on a great crusade, so we gotta let him go. But anyways, thank you for tuning into the Finfluential. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We will talk to you soon. Bye for now.